Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's that wonderful time of the week again where you get to check your sub box and see a brand new video from me, Hardy Tech Yo-Yo. And guys, this is episode 2 of my brand new. Is it still brand new? It's been around. We're episode 2. I don't really know how long the brand new thing can last, but either way, this is Pokemon Anthology. In the last episode, we took a look at the very first Pokemon games ever released, being Pokemon Red and Blue, and I highly recommend you go check that video out if you haven't seen it yet, because we'll probably be referencing it a few times throughout this video, because today, we're going to be looking at the direct sequels to Red and Blue, being Pokemon Gold and Silver. Now, all of you, well, like 15% of you actually voted on what game you would like to see next, and I want to thank all of you who actually did that. But in the future, when I do these polls, why don't all of you vote? I don't understand. Like, we had like, what, 1,000 people watch it and like 100 people voted. I don't really understand what the other 900 of you doing, why you just can't click the little link. It's completely free, it takes like 5 seconds, you can influence the things you see in the future. I don't know, I don't understand it, but maybe sometimes a little link, you should press it. I'm gonna cut up this part, that was stupid. Now, before we get started though, I do want to thank all of you, because you wonderful members of Team Caterpie here have been so supportive of me on all these new videos I've been doing. I think this is the 7th or 8th one now. We're like a month and a half into this whole new rebranding of my channel. I just want to thank everybody personally really quickly for your support, and hopefully this series will be a bit more consistent, because it's been like a month since the first episode and I just had so many different things going on. I want to try to get one of these up every other week, so try to keep me on that. Yell at me on Twitter if you have to. You guys need to motivate me to let me know that, hey, people actually exist out there. It's cool to remember that sometimes. But I'm gonna stop wasting all your time, because I have a cat and he wants to know. You're a girl, I'm sorry. She wants to know about Pokemon Gold and Silver. So, let the review begin. Pokemon Gold and Silver were actually first announced in 1997, and they were originally titled Pocket Monsters 2 Gold and Silver, which to me actually sounds a bit more like a weird porn taking place in a pawn shop, but oh well. Now, the end of 1997 came and went before we actually heard anything more about the game, and it wasn't until March of 1998 that the delay of Gold and Silver was actually announced, and it was at the same time that they actually dropped the 2 from the title. But despite this, it was still actually technically a sequel to Red and Blue, just no 2, so it's different, numbers. Sadly, during this period, a lot of the focus shifted off of Gold and Silver over to Pokemon Yellow, which was more relevant in Japan, as that was coming out that year instead. It wasn't until almost a year later that we finally got a release date for Pokemon Gold and Silver over in Japan of June of 1999. That is absolutely insane. And fun fact, the games were actually originally designed for the original Game Boy, and it wasn't until the later announcements that it was revealed that it was actually being made for the Game Boy Color instead, which could very well be the reason why we had such a long delay on this, because they were changing consoles, and I don't know, I'm not a game developer, I don't know these things, I just like 101001, that just spelled something in the digi code. Digimon, digital monsters. Alright, so last time I did the story thing, I actually rambled for a bit of time. Like, I think the actual story portion was like 7-8 minutes, something like that. So I'm gonna try to be a bit quicker today. See this guy? Beat him up. See this thing? Capture it. What, you need more detail than that? Fine. Gold and Silver are actually direct sequels to Red and Blue, taking place roughly 2 years after the events of the first games. This time he plays a boy character in the region of Johto, which is a neighbor and actually connected to the Kanto region. For consistency, we'll be referring to this player as Gold throughout this review. One day, the local professor actually asked you to run an errand for him, going to meet a guy named Mr. Pokemon to get something from him for the professor, who's actually apparently quite busy. To help you on this journey, he lends you one of his wonderful Pokemon, who in this region are Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. By the way, Cyndaquil is the best. Just saying. Totally not biased. Not at all. Cyndaquil. Pick it. Do it. You travel over to meet this Mr. Pokemon, as well as a visitor of his at the time, being the one and only Professor Oak. How surprising. Mr. Pokemon actually gives you a Pokemon egg, something completely new to the series, and wants you to take it back to Professor Elm. Unfortunately, along the way back to Professor Elm's office, you run into a red-headed boy who, for consistency, we'll refer to as Silver, who seems to be in quite a hurry, but unfortunately not enough of a hurry to not battle you really quickly. After you end up defeating him in like literally your first Pokemon battle ever, he claims he's gonna be the greatest trainer of all time. Off to a great start there. As you return to Professor Elm's office, you find a police officer there, and it's actually revealed that a Pokemon was stolen by a red-headed kid. Wonder who that was. Guess we'll never know. I don't think they actually do ever bring that up again. They might bring that up again, but that story was really just kind of dropped. Like, nobody came to arrest him or anything. This just committed crime. It got out the door. Nothing we could do now. Oh well. Nintendo's known for breaking laws. Can we just point this out? Like, you just walk into people's houses. Who cares? You smash their stuff. Who cares? You eat other people's mushrooms and stomp on them and murder them. Nobody cares. It's like, what is this game? What is this world? I don't understand, Nintendo. You are not raising kids properly. You give the egg to Elm, who is actually incredibly fascinated by this, and as a reward allows you to keep the Pokemon that you took on you with this little journey. With a partner by your side, you decide to take the Johto version of the Pokemon League Challenge, traveling around the region, challenging the 8 gyms just like you did in the previous games. Of course, this ain't gonna be that simple. Of course, why would it be? That'd be weird. Along the way, you encounter Team Rocket, the rivals from the last game, who have rebanded and are now, of course, doing evil things again. They start off pretty simple by doing things like cutting off the tails of Slowpokes and trying to sell them because apparently that's worth a lot of money, before eventually escalating to bigger things like taking over the radio tower in Goldenrod City and forcing Pokemon to evolve, which, to be fair, don't we kind of do that with like Firestones and stuff? I don't really know what the difference is there. Let's not question it. During your adventures of trying to stop Team Rocket, you actually bump into Silver several times, who, while he still seems to have a lot of hate for you, oddly wants to take down Team Rocket as well, so it kind of gives you a weird vibe of is he good, is he bad, I'm not really sure. But throughout the story, he actually has a bit of character development as he stops really hating on you a lot and more kind of just wants to prove himself as a trainer. Like, he ends up losing to Lance, the Elite Four member from the last games, and grows this determination of really wanting to beat him and prove himself to Lance. Unfortunately, over the course of Gold and Silver, it's never really revealed why Silver has such a hatred for Team Rocket. Maybe he's literally just the only other good person in the entire freaking world who's gonna stop the evil organizations, but I don't know, that seems less than likely. I mean, what are the odds it'd be 2 people who have a conscience? Caution, magic, conch shell. I always have a lot of trouble with that word for some reason. After defeating Team Rocket for the final time and stopping them from taking over the radio tower, it is revealed that they were actually rebanded to try to get Giovanni, the main boss from the last games, to come out of seclusion after his defeat to Red. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and Giovanni never actually did reappear, so they disband once again. For now, who knows? With all the evil bad guys out of the way, you continue through the Johto region, collecting all of the gym badges before going to the Elite Four, which is actually in Kanto. That's right, we're not staying in one region this time. It's the same Elite Four it was before, though this time Koga, a gym leader from Red and Blue, is now a member of the Elite Four, and Lance is now the champion. What happened to Red? I don't know. If you manage to defeat them and become the Pokemon League champion, you are actually granted access to the rest of the Kanto region. That's right, you get to travel through the region from Red and Blue, making it actually feel like a real sequel, and something I just want them to do again so badly. Travel around the Kanto region collecting all the Pokemon from Red and Blue, as well as defeating all the gym leaders again, including one new one who is Koga's replacement, and eventually you'll basically have done everything, except one thing. You see, in Red and Blue, the final boss was Mewtwo. That was the grand challenge when you've already completed everything else, and as this is a sequel, they need to have something even better than that, right? Well, after you've gone around both regions, collected all 16 badges, become a member of the Pokemon League Hall of Fame, there's only one thing left to do. You travel to the top of the highest mountain in both regions, and there is your final challenge. 1-on-1. Your character Gold versus Red. That's right, the player character from Red and Blue is waiting for you at the top of this mountain. A silent character never says anything. You meet eyes and battle, and arguably the toughest challenge in the entire Pokemon series at that point. If you manage to defeat him, the credits roll, bringing your journey to an end. Whew, I need a cigarette after a story like that. Silver suffered from a lot of the issues that Red and Blue did, where despite the fact that they probably looked decent at the time, they didn't really age very well in my opinion. But Gold and Silver, in my opinion, took a huge leap in the right direction, introducing more colorful Pokemon, all Pokemon not having completely disgusting sprites, though I still do complain about the battles, as despite the fact that the sprites thankfully are more colorful, the battles themselves are really boring. Like, there's nothing going on in the background, it's just a white screen with two colorful sprites fighting each other. It's honestly not super exciting or lively or anything like that. The overworld graphics, though, I do kind of feel a bit different about, though. Honestly, I really like it. I think the addition of the color, as well as kind of the resurgence of more retro-style graphics, kind of make it look pretty decent. Like, to me, it gives off a bit of like an Earthbound kind of vibe, and I think that's pretty cool. Johto is a special region as it actually has its own radio tower, so the whole thing, you'd think, would be pretty impressive as far as sound goes. And it doesn't really disappoint. Some of my favorite tracks include the bicycle theme as well as the champion theme. They're both pretty friggin' memorable and awesome. Now, I would have to sit down and listen to the entire soundtrack again, but off the top of my head, I really can't think of any songs that I really disliked. Like, they just, like, felt really neutral or like, whatever to me. Like, everything for the most part is relatively catchy and something I can see myself listening to on an often basis. Is that even a phrase? Often? I can listen to it a lot. Don't judge me, I'm new to these. Though, personally, I'm still not a huge fan of 8-bit music, and I definitely do prefer the versions in the remakes of these games. It's still pretty fun to listen to going back and working on this review, so I'll give it a pretty good. The gameplay at its core is virtually identical to Red and Blue, despite a few changes. You walk around the same, you interact with things the same, you battle the same, blah blah blah. It's still a Pokemon game, but trust me, it is a lot different from Red and Blue at the same time. For example, there's a new feature called breeding. Remember that Pokemon egg we talked about? Yeah, you can actually get your own. There's daycares set up around the region now where if you put two Pokemon who are compatible together in the daycare, you end up with an egg, because how do you get the egg? But trust me, there's a ton of new items. In fact, I can't even memorize them all, so I wrote down a list just so we can make sure I cover as many things as possible, including shiny Pokemon, over 100 new Pokemon, Pokemon having genders, a more organized bag, the ability for Pokemon to hold items, a real-time clock, Pokerus, as well as the introduction of two new types being Steel and Dark to help balance out the gameplay, cause screw you, Psychic types. Gold and Silver were definitely a step up from their prequels, and while a lot of people definitely have their nostalgia goggles on looking at Red and Blue, I really feel like these games are completely better. The enhanced visuals, the more balanced gameplay, the fact that this game has nearly twice as much as the originals, make it just so much more entertaining. But there's two problems. One, I have to review this game without comparing it to other games, and two, I have to ask myself, how does it hold up today? Well, Gold and Silver definitely suffered from the issue that Red and Blue did as well, in the fact that they're slow. They're really slow games. And yes, I do admit I have been spoiled by the newer Pokemon games, which are a lot more fast-paced and just a lot easier to get into and play. You don't have to walk everywhere. Oh my god. Hate walking. I like being fat, don't judge me. But taking all of that into the mind, the impact it had on the Pokemon world, the slowness of the game, the good and the bad, I'm gonna have to give this game a review of an Ultra Ball rating. In my personal opinion, Gold and Silver is one of the best Pokemon games we've ever had, and the remakes are only better. Spoilers for when I get to Heart Gold and Soul Silver, by the way. The only thing these games really suffer from, in my opinion, is a really slow pace and dated visuals. But if you look past those and you've never gone on this journey before and you don't really want to play Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I highly recommend you do it. This is a game all Pokemon fans should play. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here today on Pokemon Anthology. Next time, we'll be doing our first non-main series games as we'll be challenging the world of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team. I'm so excited about that. You guys have no idea. I'm a huge fan of Mystery Dungeon series. Super Mystery Dungeon comes out in just a few days. I think actually 2 days before my birthday, which is super duper cool. Very excited about that and going back and playing the Red and Blue Rescue Team games. So But I want to thank every single one of you for taking the time to watch this. If you want to support me, please share this video around with anybody you know who might like Pokemon or doesn't like Pokemon. They like Digimon. We need to convert them, okay? There's no such thing as a Digituber. There's Poketubers because we're amazing. We need blood. I mean, like the video. Cat, where are you cat's attacking me? Okay, guys, you gotta like it now. There's cats. By the way, her name's Esper, which is a Pokemon, so just saying. But that's gonna do it for us today, guys. I'll leave you here with 2 videos you go check out if you haven't seen them already, and I'll see you guys in the mystery dungeon. Bye.